Errol Spence does an interview with FightHype.com, and he goes on to explain his loyalty to Al Haymon and never going against Al Haymon. And he goes on to say how when he was trying to become a boxer and, go professional, and his father was going around talking to all these other, I guess, promoters or whatnot, they went with Al because Al was the only one that talked about life beyond boxing. He was talking about retirement and stuff like that. And he goes on to say that the reason why people don't go against Al Haymon is because he looks out for the boxer's well-being outside of boxing, and he thinks about their well-being after boxing. So he will never go against them. And this is why people are so loyal to him, And with that being said, well, number one, it shows and proves that, Errol Spence does have a boss. His promoter is Al Haymon. So he's not in charge like he claims he is in charge, or he relinquishes his power to Al Haymon. So therefore he does what Al Haymon advises him to do. So he's not as free as he think he is, because at the end of the day, whether he's your promoter or whether he's your advisor, nobody can force you to do anything that you don't want to do. So if you feel that this is something that you need for your career, sometimes you need to step out on a limb and do that for yourself. Sometimes you need to take your career in your own hands. Kind of how Mayweather bought himself out of his contract and became his own man. Sometimes you got to do stuff and think for yourself on your own. But back to this loyalty to Al Haymon, where he got all these guys just loyal and brainwashed and all this other stuff. I've already said it before. I like that boxers have somebody that they feel like really cares about them. I like that there's somebody out there that's thinking about protecting these fighters outside of boxing. I like all that. I think it's about time that boxers had somebody that treated them like that. And that's why they probably warm up to Al so well, because he's probably the first person really doing it. Nobody's really, I guess, taking care of his fighters like that, at least the way he's taking care of them, without them having to actually do any really hard work to earn their paychecks or whatever like that. So in that case, I understand Errol Spence and I understand other people. And at the eye of the time, I cannot blame them. But this is what I have to say. And this is what I think Errol Spence, Jamel Charlo, Gervonta Davis, and Deontay Wilder, this is what you guys don't understand. That comes with a price. Okay, so you want to be comfortable. You want to not take a lot of risk. You want to get paid nicely for just fighting nobodies, and you don't really want to. All that comes with a price. What price? What is the exchange for that comfort? The exchange is, number one, do not look to be remembered like we look back at Roy Jones, like we look back at Evander Holyfield, like we look back at all the fighters from the 90s. These guys have reputations in fights to where people like me, even if I was too young to catch their fights, I went back and watched their fights because it was that good. It was that important. It was that much important to see. What these fighters don't understand is, while you're under that Al Haymon plan, you will not have that legacy. We will not look back at you like that. When you think about it, think about these fighters of today. Think about one of these fighters today where maybe your grandkids will feel compelled to look up one of their fights, like I did Hagler, Hearns, and all those other classic fights, Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, Rumble in the Jungle, all that. These guys are not producing the fights that's going to compel the future boxing fans to look back and say, damn, do you remember when Errol Spence fought such and such and such? Do you remember when this person fought such and such and such? Do you remember? And this is the thing that I was saying about Even Vasily Lomachenko, excellent boxer, absent of a legacy. He's not the only one. Gervonta Davis, absent of a legacy. You know, Errol Spence, absent of a legacy. If he does not fight Terrence Crawford, that's going to be an absent of a legacy. You will not be looked back with the praise and the recognition like a Roy Jones Jr. He is a perfect example. You won't get what he has right now. The way Terrence Crawford felt when he ran into Roy Jones, he wasn't starstruck about anybody, but he was starstruck about Roy Jones. That kind of feeling. You know, the up-and-coming boxers, they're not going to have that for you because you chose to keep it safe, do the bare minimum, maximize your pound of flesh that you're forfeiting in the ring, which is totally understandable, you know. And you guys is driving good, living in mansions. The price you pay is you guys will not be remembered as anything significant. It's a price to pay. I'm going to put it like this. Great risk comes great rewards. You know what I'm saying? And those who are not afraid to gamble or risk a lot gains a lot. You know, nothing truly worthwhile can be gained through cowardness or doing the bare minimum or playing it safe. It's those who go in balls deep, put it all on the line and take a risk. You know what I'm saying? You risk a lot, you win big. So that's what they're forfeiting when they talk about this is why we don't go against Al Haymon. You don't have to go against Al Haymon because just like Deontay Wilder, and they're already starting to do it right now, when they look back in the pages of time, they'll realize that you guys have not done anything and you won't be worth talking about and you won't have a reputation that'll be revered like Roy Jones, like anybody else, like I said, of the yesteryear fighters. You won't have that. So that's what you give up in the process. Now, if you don't mind that, if it's really about the money and screw the legacy, because that's what it seems to be about with these fighters today, then fine. Okay? But where people get tripped up and where people mistake hate is, don't do the bare minimum. Don't play it safe. And then at the same time, advocate that you're the baddest man on the planet, or you're the boogeyman, or people are running from you, or people, because I'm going to apply the proper pressure that you're claiming that, you know, your status is. Okay, so when you claim you're a badass, I'm going to do a badass level comparison. And if it doesn't add up, I'm going to speak on it. And because somebody speaks on it does not make them a hater. You know, Errol Spence would have done a lot better with me and a lot of other people if he just stayed meek. You know, he would just stay meek. But you're trying to feel yourself. You're trying to say people are not a big enough star. You're trying to say they're across the street. You kind of say they got a belt, but so what? You know, just all this other stuff. So I want it to be made clear that it is a price to pay, you know, for being a Haymonite. It is a price to pay for speaking Alahamic. I'm glad that he has your back. You know, that's good. But he's good for the box. He's not even good for the boxer because you guys are not staying sharp. Do you want to know why these boxers of today don't compare to the boxers of the 90s or any other era? One simple blinding fact is that these guys don't fight as frequently, so the knives is not as sharp as the fighters that fought 3 and 4 times a year. This is why they're sharp. This is why they're game. This is why they were better fighters. This is why their fights were more exciting. You know, because they were more active. These fighters nowadays are not active like that. You know, so when your tool is not being sharpened as much, the blade's going to be a little bit dull. It's not going to slice like a fine sharpened knife. It's just not going to happen. You know, but fighters can remain loyalty to Al. And while you remain loyalty to Al and his plan that he has for you, you in return spit in the faces of the people who actually give you the money to live the lifestyle that you are craving so much and that you're enjoying right now. So you can listen to Al but at the same time, spit in the face of the very fans who build this sport up. So it is a price to pay for being a Haymonite. It's a price to pay for speaking Al Haymon. If these fighters don't have no problem with that, I have no problem with calling you a coward. I have no problem with calling you a ducker. Yes, I'm aware that your promoter makes the decision, but at the same time, you are a grown man and you are not a slave. If you really want to fight and you feel this is good for your career, it's up to you as a man, to do what you need to do. Because while Al Haymon looks out for these fighters, there's something that these fighters are missing. Al Haymon looks out for his best interests first before he's worried about you fighters. Does he really care about some of you fighters? Yes, I do believe it. But how can Al Haymon make up for Deontay Wilder's lost $120 million? Show me how Wilder is going to generate that revenue without Anthony Joshua. Show me how Al Haymon is going to replace the 7, 8, 6 million that Gervonta Tank Davis and Luis Ortiz lost. And Luis Ortiz is not going to get another payday like that, period. I guarantee you, when they have this rematch, if they have the rematch at all, let's pay close attention to how much Luis Ortiz get paid. There's one thing for sure. It won't be $2 million, and I'll be surprised if he even hits $1 million. So once again, how is he going to replace that $8 million that Luis Ortiz lost because he was advised not to take the fight? This is what you guys are not thinking about. Al Haymon is so great to his fighters, then what is Gary Russell Jr.'s problem? Gary Russell Jr. is a good fighter. He's been trying to get a fight with Leo Santa Cruz forever. This is within the stable. So while he may look out for some of you guys, it's not like all you over there just as happy as can be. You can't get the fights. You can get the money, but you can't get the fights. I think the reason why somebody like Terrence Crawford signed with Bob Arum over Al Haymon is because I think Terrence Crawford really wanted fights. And what I mean by that, he didn't want to pretend like he was all that. He really wanted to be all that. I think Terrence Crawford wants to know for himself that he's really good. Terrence Crawford really cares about his legacy and how he's looked at, you know. And he know over there at the PBC, well, the PBC at this point in time, the entire squad has a reputation for being cowards and duckers. And this is not just in the YouTube boxing community. This is now spilt on into the boxing game. They all say the same thing. Well, you know, those PBC fighters, they don't go against Al Haymon. They don't go against Al Haymon. It's like a running joke. They know that these guys will not speak against Al Haymon. But, you know, that's just my thoughts on it. But it comes with a price. And if you don't mind paying that price, and if you don't mind giving me crappy fights or force feeding me bullcrap, then I have no problem telling you what I really feel about you and your true assessment when it comes to your level of skill. And fanboys should not have a problem with it, because at the end of the day, while you're licking scrotum, you're still not getting what you want. At the end of the day, you could do it to say that, oh, I'm striking back at the haters that hate on my fighter. But at the end of the day, you're not really happy with what's going on with your favorite fighter. Not really. You just don't want to let other people know. But anyways, that's just my thoughts on it. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Bruce Vane, I'm out.